Welcome to a long-delayed TV trivia video on Patreon. This is Tim in Tokyo.
And this is Paul in New Hampshire. Patrons? Patrons? Are you still out there? Sorry. We got complaints. I mean, we got busy. Sorry, folks, we got complaints. That's an old quotation that we won't go into the origins of right now.
But yeah, so I got some TV trivia again. And I think part of the reason we didn't show up for a long time was that I didn't have any trivia, but also it was just, lots of other things going on.
Yes, family health crises and things like that, but everybody is okay now.
And also I've had a lot of proofreading work to do.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so first question. Recently, not so recently anymore, finished watching season 1 of the Patty Duke Show. The show was created by Sidney Sheldon, and he wrote all 104 episodes and the unaired pilot.
Wow.
I had
in between episodes of I Dream of Jeannie. I mean, he created that show too, but that was later.
I had assumed that after that show, he quit TV and went into novels exclusively, but he created and wrote subsequent series too. Which of the following series was not created and written by Sidney Sheldon? A. I Dream of Jeannie.
Mm-hmm.
B. Julia. C. Heart to Heart. D. He created and wrote all 3.
I'm going to guess Julia.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, not created by Sidney Sheldon. But
right, that was Diane Carroll's show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a pretty radical show for its time. It starred a African American woman as the title character.
Mm-hmm.
And what the year would that have been? Like 68, 69?
Yeah, it's late 60s. I remember watching it as a preschooler.
Interesting. Yeah, its content was far from radical, but just the casting and the fact that it was a show centered on a black woman, I think a single mom, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That was, very, very unusual, different, new in American TV.
Yeah.
Interesting. So,
I've also been watching the first season of Mork and Mindy lately.
Oh, wow. The Wayback Machine just suddenly overcame me. It's like, whoa. Oh my gosh. I think I had a pretty hard crush on Pam Dauber for a while.
But you might recall that really the first season was the only one that we watched religiously. And then season 2, they moved it to Sunday and they changed the cast and we kind of drifted away from it.
Is that when Jonathan Winters became their baby, or was that like
that's later, I think, 3rd or 4th season. Mork and Mindy debuted on ABC in 1978, and it was Thursdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, where we watched it in Iowa. What was on at 7:30 Thursdays that fall on ABC? A. Angie. B. Carter Country. C. What's Happening. D. Barney Miller.
Oh, Barney Miller was on later. That was always an 8:30 show, as far as I can recall.
Or 8 o'clock, I think.
Maybe. Let's see. Angie, Carter Country, What's Happening? What's Happening?
That's right.
Yes.
So What's Happening was on at 7:30 in the fall, and then mid-season it was moved to Fridays at 7:30, and then Saturdays at 7.
And then we never watched it again, I suspect.
Probably. Yeah, changing nights could make us completely drift away from a TV show.
Well, Fridays were always taken up. We had a family night on Fridays, so rarely watched TV until Dallas came along.
And somehow being on weekend evenings also tended to jeopardize our watching stuff for some reason. And when What's Happening was moved, then Thursday at 7:30 was Angie.
Okay.
Mid-season replacement.
I hear that Love is Fine. It's okay. Quotation from famous, not very famous themes from television shows.
Okay, number 3. I'll name a show that was a spin-off, and you have to tell me the show that it was spun off from.
Let me get my let me get my slide rule out, please. Give me just a moment. Okay, doing the calculations. I'm ready.
Some of these will be easy and some are not.
State the question one more time.
I'll name a show that was a spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
You have to tell me the show it was spun off from.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mork and Mindy.
Happy Days.
Right. Lou Grant.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah. The Facts of Life.
Different Strokes.
Mm-hmm. Happy Days.
Oh. American Graffiti? That wasn't a series.
No, not exactly.
Oh boy. I don't know.
Love American Style.
No kidding.
Because it originated as a segment on that show. You know, a one-time thing. And it had Ron Howard and I think Marion Ross, but the other cast was different. It was a different father, not Tom Bosley.
So what was the love theme of
well,
that
you know,
episode?
he was high school students, and I watched it once on YouTube or something. I think he's just like, it has to do with this girl that he's trying to date or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Funny, I'd never heard that before. I'd never had any inkling of that connection. Interesting.
Okay, Fish.
Barney Miller.
Mm-hmm. Mr. T and Tina. You remember that show?
Hey, fool.
No, not that Mr. T.
Not from Happy Days, was it?
Well, it was Pat Morita, and a lot of people, I guess, mistakenly thought it was a spinoff of Happy Days, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I was just grasping at straws there. It was the only other show that I knew Pat Morita was on. So you'll have to tell me.
Okay. Welcome Back, Kotter. The Mr. Takahashi character had appeared on a career day episode of Welcome Back, Kotter. Career day at the high school. And that was, I guess, to sort of lead you into Mr. T and Tina. The show was already in the shoot.
I see. So it wasn't that Mr. Takamura was just a wildly popular character, and they decided to run a spin-off of him on him. But it would have been. I think it would have been much better if Mr. T himself had been around by then, and perhaps the show could have been spun off from the A-Team instead.
And that show did not last long. According to Wikipedia, the critics were really out for bear on that show. They hated it.
I remember its title, and that's really all. Did we watch an episode or two
I
of
think
that?
we watched one or two. I think it was on Saturday nights, and again, we tended not to watch much on the weekend.
It would have made more sense for the network programmers to put that show on after Welcome Back, Kotter, at least at first.
Yeah.
If they were going to spin it off from Welcome Back, Kotter, even if it was just like a single episode. But, I'm no Fred Silverman, so what do I know? I wouldn't put dogs in all the Saturday morning cartoons, or pets or Batmite or
Ms.
whatever.
Lion.
Oh, Ms. Lion. I don't have any nostalgia for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends at all. I really don't understand it. I don't understand the love that's shown for that show on, like, 13th Dimension or, shows or sites of that sort.
Anyway, more spin-offs. Good Times.
Yeah, Maud?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was her name? Florida was the maid on Maud originally, and then she moved out, moved off on with her family, and that became Good
Right.
Times.
Esther Rolla, right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maude spun off from,
All in the Family.
right, Adam 12.
Adam 11? Son of Adam 11. Adam 12. Um, Emergency?
You're close.
Um, or Emergency 1, although I think it was only called Emergency 1 when it went into syndication.
Yeah.
Randy Mantooth. Ah, what a heartthrob. Okay. Um, hmm. I don't know.
Dragnet.
Really?
Yeah, so Adam 12 and actually Emergency were also Jack Webb
Oh.
run shows, and I guess that Adam 12 started in the late 60s, and there were crossovers between the two shows, the characters showing up on each other's show.
I'm sorry. Thinking of the Dragnet universe.
Yeah, the Webverse.
Funny, very funny. No web shooters involved in this one though.
No. Green Acres.
Petticoat Junction.
Right.
Okay.
And I would never have gotten this one. I stumbled across it. Barnaby Jones.
Oh. The Beverly Hillbillies. I guess I've got Petticoat Junction on the brain now. Barnaby Jones. Well, let's see. Who was the star of that show?
Yeah, I think it was, what was his name? Buddy Ebsen?
From
From Beverly Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies. I was hoping it was part of the Ziffleverse, but unfortunately not. Gosh. I can't even grasp a straw here.
Okay. Cannon.
Never would have guessed that.
No,
Was
me
Barnaby
neither.
Jones was he like a minor character on Canon or a fellow detective or something?
Oh, let's see. Yeah, the first episode of the show, Requiem for a Son, featured a crossover with another QM, that's Quinn Martin program, Cannon, with William Conrad guest starring as Detective Frank Cannon. There was another crossover between the two programs in the 1975 two-part episode, The Deadly Conspiracy. So it seems like it might have been another one of those where there was a crossover because they were starting the new show and they wanted to get people to watch it.
Got it. Yeah, that's a little bit different. There's a Batman connection here, too. Did you realize that Lee Merriweather played Barnaby Jones's spouse, I believe?
Oh, yeah, I see it right here in the first sentence of the Wikipedia entry.
And Gary Lockwood of 2001: A Space Odyssey and Star Trek fame was apparently on the show as well. Yeah, he was in whatever the first aired episode of Star Trek was, I believe.
Okay, so for this one, I'm going to attempt to share my screen.
Sounds like you've got your Dreamcast for something or other. I'm not sure what.
Okay, so all of those are stage names.
Ah.
Now, I'm going to say the real names, and I want you to tell me which one is which actor.
Interesting. So let's see. So Betty Jo Persky is Lauren Bacall.
That's right. I thought you might know that one.
Yeah, her nickname was Betty throughout her life. She was Betty Bacall. Donald Yarmy is Don Adams.
Yeah.
Okay. Jason Alexander is Millicent Fogel. Am I right?
No.
No. Just I was sure that I wasn't. Let's see. Is Alan Alda Alfonso?
Yes.
No kidding. Huh. How about that? Can't believe I got that one right. D'Abruzzo, right?
Yeah, well, I
Um,
feel like he might have purposely gone for an AA name, just like the Alfonso and the Abruzzo.
yeah, yeah, maybe. Um, yeah, if names sounded too ethnic, they were, in the 60s, 70s, and before, they were often changed unless there was a like Latin lover, let's say,
Hmm.
aspect about the characters or the actor's persona. So Eve Arden, Eunice Mary Quedens.
That's right.
Okay, okay, and then that would make Barbara Bain, Millicent Fogel,
Mm-hmm.
like a Barbara Bain, do 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 do, Barbara Bain. Actually, my friend Dave and I used to sing that about Conrad Bain
Well,
when
I made
Ball and
that
Chain was
up.
out. You did? Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, just
Yeah,
okay.
like
I
Conrad
believe I
Bain.
believe you. Yes, and then I found out that Conrad Bain's brother's name is Bonar, Bonar, because that's who played the Conrad Bain stand-in on the SNL Glowing
or
Melon
or
episode, or
SCTV.
SCTV.
Yeah,
Yes, there's our SCTV reference for the day.
yeah.
What a name, Bonar Bain. Wow. Must be some crazy Canadian thing. Let's see. So this last one's not going to be so easy. Jason Alexander is Jay Greenspan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that would make Billy Barty William John Bertonzetti.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not coming up with doing this kind of matching is not all that difficult because often there's something similar. The spin-off name or the stage name is based in some way on the original name. So Jay and Jason is not
Mm-hmm.
unfamiliar as a strategy, for example.
Yeah.
And Billy Barty's first name is William. He kept that,
Yeah,
and
and the
he's
Bardi is like a shortened Bertonzetti.
yeah. Sounds like a pasta. Bertonzetti. I'll have some tossed with my linguine, please.
Okay, so
I got them
finally,
all right. I got all
well,
those right.
yeah, you
Oh,
did. Yeah.
no,
Okay.
I've missed two questions before that, so I haven't gotten all of the trivia right, but I got all the names right.
Yeah. Finally, this is just a straight up question, and perhaps you know the answer off the top of your head.
Okay.
Although, as I looked into it a little bit more, I found it was a little more complicated than I'd originally thought.
Hmm.
Watching Green Acres lately, which has the MGM lion roaring at the beginning and the end. And I noticed that the circle in which you see the lion has some writing on it in Latin.
Hmm.
What is written there, and what's the English translation?
It's ars gratis art. Ars is that it?
Artis?
Artis, yeah. And it means basically art for art's sake, doesn't it?
That's what it's supposed to mean. But I ran across a February 7th, 1993 New York Times letter to the editor from Diana Altman, author of Hollywood East, Louis B. Mayer, and the Origins of the Studio System.
Mm.
And according to that letter, ars gratis artis is really Latin gibberish. She writes, Phil Goodman thought that Sam Goldwyn's new motion picture company would fail, as many did in 1917, so he assigned the logo work to Howard Dietz, his most junior employee. She explains that Dietz was 19 at the time and had just flunked out of the Columbia University School of Journalism, and apparently didn't do very well in Latin class either. She goes on, in Latin, the word ars means art, as in the art of baking bread, a skill or craft. No single word in Latin expressed what we mean by art.
Mm.
In Latin, painting would be ars picturae, sculpture would
Hmm.
be ars sculpturae, as examples.
Okay.
The word gratia, when used at all, meant doing something for the sake of a goal, just the opposite of how Dietz used it.
Not for its own sake,
Yeah.
but for the sake of some exterior, purpose. Hmm.
Yeah. The concept of art for its own sake was foreign to the Romans. Art for one's patron's sake, maybe.
Hmm. That's
So,
hilarious.
yeah, I mean, you don't find that, because most of us don't know Latin, so you just hear that and you just repeat it, and you can find it repeated all over the internet. But I didn't run across this deconstruction of that anywhere else.
I didn't know it was gobbledygook. That's hilarious. I've seen that logo so many thousands of times. And so it opens and closes Green Acres.
Yeah, at least on the DVD collection.
So every episode?
Yeah.
Huh. How interesting. Generally, even if a Hollywood studio or crumbling studio was responsible for the production of a television series, the logo would come at the end, and it was often the logo of the TV production subsidiary, like Screen Gems was Columbia's television offshoot, for example. So to this emblazon MGM at top and bottom of the show is kind of unusual, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and watching Green Acres in syndication, I never saw it at the beginning. I can't remember if I saw it at the end, but yeah, I mean, watching it on like TBS, they would go, straight into the opening.
Right. Well, everything needs to move faster on syndicated television, so I'm sure they would clip off anything that was not absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And also, potentially run the show a little bit faster, as has been done since the 90s, I think. Actually, shave off a few seconds per episode for, commercials by just, running the episode at a higher speed.
Okay.
I can only imagine that improving Green Acres. To tell you the truth. Well, very educational set of questions today. Nice work.
Okay, so I can't promise when we'll be back again, but we'll try to be back sooner than we were this time.
Okay, and I'll see if I can make my hair lie down for our next next recording. The headphones help somewhat if I use them as a hairband, but not so much today.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for watching.